What's up, guys? Can everybody hear me? Dan Robertson doing his best. Bruce Buffer. It's time. That is right. It is time. 8 p.m. Central on a Sunday evening. Good to see y'all. Hope everybody had a good Sunday so far. Tonight we're going to be talking about famous Blackfoot chiefs. We actually got a short stories by Kate super chat asking about famous Blackfoot chiefs, and I didn't really know a lot about it, so I did a little bit of research. Key phrase there being a little bit. So I'm not an expert, but we're going to talk a little bit about it to give you some better context for today's episode. And you might have seen the chat that I have up already. We're going to be talking about the Treaty 7. It's a critical point of Blackfoot history that I don't think a lot of us in the United States know about, but it's a huge thing in Canada. So we'll talk about that. But before we do that, we're going to check the chat real quick. Pet Detectives, good to see you. Short Stories by Kate. Terry R., good to see everybody. James Groves, what's up, man? Good to see you, sir. Oklahoma in the house, says James Groves. James is a long time subscriber, viewer of HOKC, an OG member. Dan Robertson, good to see you. Gave the introduction for us. Arizona boy, what's up, man? Elite Super Grunt, what's up, guys? Good to see everybody. Stephen Miller, good to see you. All right, got everybody piling in already. That's great. So if you're just getting in, we're going to cover famous Blackfoot chiefs. We're going to cover the treaty. I just learned about it like 2 days ago. It's Treaty 7 from Blackfoot history, Canadian history specifically. There's a real tie-in with Blackfoot history. A little too dark there. Blackfoot history and Canadian history, because the Blackfoot are right up on the edge of Montana and Alberta. So they had a big tie-in. They played a big part in Canadian history. They were kind of going back and forth over the border, trying to follow the buffalo, because they could go find some refuge north of the border, but they'd have to follow them south of the Canadian-American border to follow the buffalo herds. So they were caught in a bit of a conundrum in the mid to late 1800s. Everybody piling in. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. So we're going to talk about the Blackfoot Chiefs, Treaty Number 7. And if we have time, we'll talk about, we'll sneak it in no matter what, missing people in the Old West. That's going to be an upcoming topic, but I think it'll be a cool one. So I'm going to introduce it a little bit and talk about missing 411 with David Paulides and how some of his findings might be found in the Old West. So we'll talk about that all in a night's work here. So in our first topic, we're going to go to some of the famous Blackfoot chiefs. I think is a good place to start. So I think the earliest, most impactful one that I was able to find is Red Crow. No, hold on, sorry. I just learned about a lot of these guys too. Oh, it's Little Dog. Sorry. Is that right? Hold on. Little Dog. Yeah, it's Little Dog. Sorry, I just learned about all this in the last day or two myself. So Little Dog is a Blackfoot chief born in 1818. He lived until 1862. A lot of the Blackfoot chiefs, I'm surprised when I looked them up. They're renowned. It's a warrior culture. It's similar to we talk a lot about the Comanche on here. Very, very similar. Very similar culture. Horsebound warrior culture. Known as the martial powerhouse of their area. So think of them. Don't take this literally, but a similar culture, but just up north on the northern plains. So very war-oriented, and a lot of their chiefs are some of their greatest diplomats. They're renowned for their peacekeeping abilities, for their diplomatic skill, for their political prowess, like dealing with the American government, dealing with the Canadian government, and also dealing with the meshing of the different Blackfoot sub-tribes, because the Blackfoot are a confederacy. We've talked a little bit about this, the Blackfoot Confederacy. They're a confederacy of several different tribes, the Blood and the Piegan and the Siksika, which initially they're separate bands that all considered themselves under a Blackfoot umbrella, and then formally coalesced as a confederacy, which we talk about in the Battle of Belly River. So that's in our Blackfoot episode from today. So check that out. But they had to work with intertribal dynamics as well as extra tribal dynamics, I guess you would say. So they had to be very skilled at that, perhaps more skilled than some other tribes, maybe more skilled than a Comanche chief, more skilled than a Cheyenne or some other tribes that were really one whole, not so much a confederacy, more a overarching tribe with separate bands. The Blackfoot were a little different in that respect. So it turns out, kind of to my surprise, that their chiefs, their biggest ones I was able to find, their most prominent ones are their most prominent diplomats. Little Dog was known as a absolutely, a renowned warrior. They all are known as renowned warriors. So don't get me wrong. But he also, I thought it was really interesting, was pivotal in kind of U.S. government and Blackfoot relations. And in 1853, so just before, I believe, the Battle of Seattle, Little Dog informed Governor Isaac Stephen of the existence of Maria's Pass, which is a route to Washington through the Rocky Mountains, the very northern Rocky Mountains. So Isaac Stevens is the governor, the eventual governor of Washington Territory, and was the guy who kind of more or less skipped town right before the Battle of Seattle. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic and a nice way to plug two episodes at once. So if you haven't seen our Blackfoot episode from earlier today, go check that out. And then also our Battle of Seattle episode. Thought that was a really interesting episode that even a lot of people from Washington said that they'd never heard of before. So go check that one out as well. Studio Obscura. Hi, I'm from the UK. Good to see you. Glad we have a couple of UK viewers here. So it is, gosh, what, 2 a.m. there, I believe, somewhere around there. Let's see. I deliver money to Treaty 6 area in Saskatchewan. Ray Lance. Yeah, okay, man. Like I that's what I was going to say. I think this is common knowledge to Canadians, but for Americans, I don't know, man. Yesterday was the first I'd really heard of Treaty 7, I'm ashamed to say, but I was more familiar with the earlier history of the Blackfoot tribe, and not terribly familiar with their Canadian history. So Treaty 7 is news to a lot of Americans. Joe McGee. I grew up in a town close to the reserve. The amount of fistfights in high school. All right, I can't read that. Probably can't read that out loud. But there's a lot of fistfights in, I believe, what, Canadian high school, says Joe McGee. Maybe with some lasting tensions between peoples. Let's see. Battle of Seattle is a great episode, says Short Stories by Kate. Oh, I think so. That was one of the ones that I had a lot of fun writing because I didn't know a lot about it, and it's a lot of people forget about Washington as part of the frontier, but it in fact was very much part of the frontier. So I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that Little Dog had actually interacted and directed some of Isaac Stevens' cross-country trip. So we'll go on to I have a list here. Let me see. Little Dog was my number one. Then we go, I think the most impactful, it seems like, in the later 1800s is Crowfoot. I'm going to try to share. I want to get pictures for you guys, and I have some of them lined up. So let's see if I can do this. I'm going to go, oops, CapCut open. Too many tabs open, guys. Okay. So let's try and do a little screen share action here. So Crowfoot here. Can everybody give it a couple of seconds? That's what I found out. We have to give it a couple seconds, but can everybody see Crowfoot? Let me know in the chat. Make sure you can see him. Cool looking dude. He has like some kind of, almost looks like a backstage pass for a music festival. That is not what it is. I'm just not sure what is on his necklace. Cool looking guy though, right? Crowfoot. Pivotal in negotiating Treaty 7. Pivotal in relations with the U.S. government. Cool. Stephen Miller can see it. So this is Crowfoot. You really can't look up. You can't really Google a search for Blackfoot chiefs without hearing something about Crowfoot. Born in, I lost my notes. There we go. This is a live operation, guys. So I beg your pardon. Let's see. He was born in 1830, passed away in 1890. He played a decisive role in Treaty 7. He adopted a Crowfoot white trader named John Jack Codry, a political move. He adopted a white child in kind of an effort to build diplomatic ties, who eventually, I read several places that he lost a son in a battle with Sitting Bull's tribe, the Lakota, but I wasn't able to find which son that was. So I don't know if it was the son that he adopted or if it was another son. But eventually he made peace with the Lakota. I eventually had a meeting with Sitting Bull, I believe. Oh, Dan Robertson, the $5 super chat. Trade you $4.99 for $5. It's $5 for the high grade R&D. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I saw your comment. I think I put a heart next to it. And underneath, I think the Blackfoot episode saying we did great R&D. So really appreciate that. That's like the biggest comment I can get because that's where I put, 80% of my time, 60% of my time is into the R&D and the writing, the research and development and the writing. So I really appreciate that. All right. Thank you so much, Dan. Really appreciate all your support, man. That means the world to us. Like we said, if you have something you really want me to see in the chat, it can be the lowest common, whatever the lowest super chat. I think it's 99 cents or $2, and I will for sure see it. And thank you so much for doing that because that's what keeps the stream. That's what makes it where we can do this. So our next one, let me do a little bit more about Crowfoot. Let's see. I only took like minimal notes on all these guys, but I wanted to do a rough outline of all of the Blackfoot chiefs, so you have some idea of more of an idea of what their standing is with the Canadians and the Americans as we get into the later 1800s. Because sometimes our episodes don't touch on that as much because we talk more about the Mountain Man era. There wasn't necessarily a ton of battles between the U.S. Army and the Blackfoot as they kind of moved north, and we kind of haven't touched on that too much yet. So with the greatest Blackfoot battles, I thought it would be good to cover some of these guys. Let's see. I'm guessing his backstage pass was some kind of crown appointed chief authentication. Yeah, I think we forget that too. When I say Canadian government, really they're negotiating and dealing with the British crown at the end of the day, because Canada is still a British protectorate at that time and possibly still today. I kind of misunderstand how that works, but yes, absolutely. They were essentially negotiating and dealing with the British crown. All right. Are you guys getting some like weird background noise, or is that just me? Just me? Hopefully just me. I think we're good. Okay. So our next chief here, we have Running Rabbit of the Siksika Nation. So part of I believe that's the westernmost band of the Blackfoot. Another critical force in joining the Confederacy together. All right, no crazy noise. Thanks, Plowboy. Like I said, a lot of these, every time I would look somebody up, it'd be a warrior and a diplomat. He's also a co-signer of the Treaty 7. I believe it's Treaty 7, not Treaty number 7, Treaty 7. Later became a head chief. All of these guys have lots of experience in intertribal warfare, but I think the problem is, like with Quanah Parker, a lot of their battlefield experience is kind of either left in within the tribe, like the lore of it is left within the tribe, or just not talked about, and certainly skipped in Anglo accounts. It's not really talked about to media outlets because, especially during the time, they were trying to kind of downplay some of the more horrific battles they might have had. So this happened with Quanah, happened with lots of chiefs, where they just said like, oh, some stuff happened and move on, right? Like they didn't want to talk about some of the more violent aspects of intertribal warfare, where a lot of their experience was. I think the vast majority of combat experience for most Native warriors, especially early 1800s to mid 1800s, is in some form or fashion intertribal warfare. All right, I'm seeing this real quick into the chat. What other tribes did they war with? You can see it in our Blackfoot episode today. The Cree, a brutal, long-standing rivalry with the Cree, culminated in the Battle of Belly River, which is the last and one of the most shockingly bloody battles, the last intertribal battle in Canadian history. Even today, I think I've talked about this a little bit. And if you're a Blackfoot or Cree in the chat here, let me know. But I've seen several tribal members in the chat underneath some of these videos still carrying on a vitriolic arguments, I would say. You see a lot of these a lot of the early history of a lot of these guys is either purposefully obfuscated, okay, if we're not going to be that charitable, or just lost to history. But there's their roles as diplomats, peacemakers, quasi politicians of sorts, um, are what's renowned in tribal history today, and really that's understandable. But they're also this is the case for Crowfoot. This is the case for Chief Mountain. This is the case for Red Crow, who we'll talk about. Controversial figures, because just like anybody, any political figure, they have their fans and they have their detractors. So some people say that they were a critical figure in bridging these two uh, seemingly incompatible worlds, whether that's the Canadian government and the Blackfoot or the American government and the Blackfoot, or I kind of lost my train of thought there. To be honest with you, uh, it's a good time to lose my train of thought though. Crowfoot is an absolute fierce-looking chief. Yeah, a lot of these guys have a real kind of classic Frederick Remington look to them too. Anybody remember where I was going right before I got the super chat? I'm juggling a lot of pictures and more tech than I'm used to here. So, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I actually remembered. So they had a lot of political detractors too, because some people thought, oh, they're visionaries, and some people thought, oh, they're total sellouts. So just like name him, right? FDR, JFK, whatever other three letters you want to throw in there, Abe Lincoln, Washington, even. Some people are unshakable fans of them, and some say, oh, they did X, Y, and Z wrong, and ultimately that's all that matters. So you'll see some of that. Quanner had that. And that's kind of an ongoing thing throughout Native history. That's as soon as Squanto had that. We just covered the Squanto movie. If you want to go watch that live stream after this one, I need a little coffee break, guys. Excuse me, a little coffee break with the prototype mug. But you'll see that with several of these chiefs. I think ultimately, hindsight has been kind to them, but you have to keep that in mind as we do talk about what great diplomats they are. I think history has been kind to them, but contemporarily during their time, they had a fair number of detractors because this was a contentious subject. There was always a faction that wanted to keep fighting. You can think of Geronimo in this context, certainly Quanah again, um, Cheyenne. Everyone had a faction that wanted to keep fighting. Um, almost every tribe had a faction that said, "Listen, this is more or less a lost cause. We need to find a way to coexist here, acquiesce to demands for confinement to reservations." So this was it was a tension that lasted 50, 75 years, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit more, where two rival entities of a tribe would war within themselves over what was the best way to proceed, because it was a real problem thrust into their laps. Let me do a couple more chiefs here. So we have Chief Red Crow, born in 1830, passed away in 1900. Where is he on my list here? Another chief, a statesman. He is from the Blood tribe. So again, another faction. They would know themselves as the Blood tribe, but they are a member of the Blackfoot Confederacy. Um, he was another person that oversaw this, a critical person in overseeing this transition. What had to happen in many cases was you had to take a horsebound warrior tribe who depended on hunting the buffalo for their survival, and that was their primary means of obviously food, but shelter, tools, every aspect of their survival depended on the buffalo herds. And within a couple of years, the goal is to transition them fully into an agricultural culture and economy, which is, I don't know, in present day terms, it seems as absurd as it probably did then, and it hardly ever worked out if the tribe had no roots in agriculture to begin with. Did not work out for the Apache. Did not work out for the Navajo. Had some agricultural roots, but it still didn't work out terribly well for them. Cheyenne, Comanche, none of these hunting tribes took terribly well to agriculture. Neither did the Blackfoot. It was a long transition. It's still just you're transitioning not only their primary source of income and their the center post of their culture, but also their diet. So you saw a lot of health problems crop up when they switched from eating lean meats and fruits, tubers, roots, etc., to I don't know 50+% uh, bread made with cheap flour, basically, and no leavening agents or anything. So you just go to this like flat bread and some root vegetables and maybe a little bit of meat, some beef that might be given to you by the reservation, but caused a lot of health problems, caused a lot of cultural problems, a lot of economic problems because there was very little way for them to make income. If you can't trade buffalo hides, you can't, the whole center post of your economy has changed because now you have to trade crops, and a lot of times the crops aren't working out. So it just became a disaster for many tribes in the late 1800s. Um, the Blackfoots, not not a huge exception to that. There weren't a lot of smooth transitions, as one can imagine. Let's see, am I leaving any chiefs out here? Let's see. Mountain Chief. Okay, this is Mountain Chief. There was no picture of Red Crow. So Mountain Chief here. Oh, I forgot to unshare my screen too. Sorry, guys. I'm learning as we go. So Mountain Chief. There we go. This is Mountain Chief. To me, kind of looks like I don't know, man, like a band manager for Skinnerd, something like that. No disrespect, man. Like cool looking guy, right? All these guys look really cool. The Blackfoot had a lot more adornment in their day-to-day dress. Necklaces, a lot of this top knot is not terribly uncommon. Seems like it's not on everyone. I don't know if it's Pegan specific. Haven't been able to find that out yet. Um, but if you colorize some of the pictures, a lot of bright colors, a lot of knickerchiefs, um, you know, beadwork, stuff like that. Make sure. All right, I'm gonna check the chat real quick. But Mountain Chief, another, like you'll see, everyone is renowned for their diplomacy. There's a little bit more on Mountain Chief being a war leader in the 1860s and 70s. He survived the Baker Massacre, where a Blackfoot band was actually mistakenly attacked by the U.S. cavalry, which happened not terribly infrequently, because a lot of times uh, retributive kind of vigilante justice would just fall on, it's like, well, we're hunting Blackfoot, or we're hunting natives. So like any natives will do. Like whoever you can find, that's who will start attacking. Let's see here. $5 super chat just comes in from Terry R. Changing from hunting style to agricultural life in 2 years is like asking us to change completely over to electrified cars in 2 years. Yeah, right. Like, which is probably not a great idea. I don't know. I don't know if that's a great idea either. I see a lot of Teslas. I live in Austin. I see a lot of Teslas, and I'm just like, yeah, I see a lot of those vehicles, and I've seen a lot of videos of them burning, and so they look like fire caskets to me now. And I don't know, just not terribly cool. There's a Cybertruck downstairs in the parking lot, and it's like, I don't know. It's not my vibe. It's not my vibe. I would say that it's almost like not this isn't a direct correlation, but it almost is like asking our culture to go completely hunter gatherer. Like the change would be so abrupt. There would be so much cultural consternation, and it would be so hard for us to survive until we built the requisite skills that, I mean, obviously many people would perish, as they did with confinement to reservation life. And this is the truth from Canada to Oklahoma. Buchanan says, "Hey, bud, have you talked about the interaction with Lewis and Clark yet?" No, not a lot. This is like more about the Chiefs, like the Blackfoot Chiefs, but certainly the Blackfoot were one of the tribes that was encountered by Lewis and Clark. They were noted as they weren't noted as being as bellicose, I guess would be the term, as warlike and aggressive as I don't even think they were noted as being as aggressive as the Osage tribe, but that seemed to be they seemed to be intimidating, but maybe they weren't. That seemed to be kind of a misleading thing for people that came after them. I don't know. Coulter seemed like Coulter was part of the expedition. He seemed like he had a good grasp on the Blackfoot being relatively dangerous, for trappers or anyone in their lands uninvited. But I don't know. Lewis and Clark didn't make a big deal about the Blackfoot being terribly warlike, and so it seems like maybe people that came after them thought they weren't in as much danger initially. I'm talking like the 18 teens and 20s, like right after them. It seemed like it took a couple years, and then everyone up there was like, "Oh, the Blackfoot are scary." That's all they talk about in the journals too. It's just Blackfoot, Blackfoot, Blackfoot. A little bit of a Rickera, sometimes Cree, but anytime they're 90% of the journals that I've read, and it's a fair amount of mountain man journals, the tribe they talk about with the most fear is the Blackfoot, hands down, hands down. They're just terrified of being caught by the Blackfoot, which for a fair reason. You can listen to our watch our Headless Mountain Man, it's called, episode a couple of weeks ago. It came out on George Drew Yard. What happened to him happened to hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the early 18 teens through the 1830s, up to 1840s even. Expecting roaming tribes to become farmers overnight is ... says John Doe. I'm guessing you're going to say something like silly, right? But yes, so we've got Mountain Chief here. Another, like I said, prominent war chief. All of these guys have this real duality, which seems to be really appreciated in the Blackfoot tribe, of being a statesman and a war leader. And he survived until it looks like 1942. So just after Pearl Harbor is when Mountain Chief eventually passed away. I don't know if we have time to get into. We have. I don't think I have a picture of White Calf. Let me see if I can find you guys a picture of White Calf. Calf, Blackfoot Chief. The show's live, guys, so you know how this works. Sometimes we have to look stuff up on the fly. I have a painting of him. We'll go with this. So this is X out of this. This is White Calf. You see a lot of Roman noses too, which is curious in the Blackfoot tribe. And notoriously tall people as well, it seems like. A noted tall people. Braids too, pretty common. And like I said, unfortunately, a lot of these are in black and white. Be a very colorful ensemble you'd have here. Lots of beadwork, lots of layers because they're up in such a cold climate. All right. So everybody's got a look there. So the big diplomatic event that a lot of these chiefs played a part in, stop sharing this, is Treaty 7. So Treaty 7 was a bunch of tribes coming together at what is now Blackfoot Crossing in Fort McLeod. Canadians, sometimes I have a hard time understanding how your naming system works. It says Fort McLeod is a town in southern Alberta, Canada. So it's a town, and there's a place in the town called Blackfoot Crossing. Okay, it's a historical park. A little confusing to me, guys. When I wrote this script, I don't know, a while ago, I had some Canadians look it over, and they were like, "No, you know what I mean?" I was saying it was like in Canada, Alberta, something like that, and they were like, "That's not how it says. That's wrong." And I was like, "Okay, guys, well, you know what I mean? I'm a product of the American public school system. What do you want me to do?" They're always ragging on our public school system, and then they want to give me a hard time for not being the brightest bulb in the drawer. Oh, Dan Robertson, this is a good point. The Blackfoot had these, the Cree had these, the Manfoot had these, Mandan had these, Buffalo boats. I promise I can talk, guys. Basically, you're describing it as a kayak. In my understanding, it's okay. Yeah, you're saying it's a bowl. Yeah, it's a bowl. It's basically like an upside down wigwam with no door, and then you get in it and you kind of ride this bowl. It's a bowl canoe essentially. There's probably, while we're doing this live, while we're talking, there's a good video of a buffalo hide boat with Steve Ranella, who, if you like mountain man history at all, Steve Ranella is a great, he's a hunter today, but a great resource as well. He has a recent book out on the mountain men and the trappers. I just forget what the name of it is, but if you look it up on Audible or Amazon, You'll find it easily. I don't know if there's a, I don't see the video right offhand. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this will work. I'll post the link for you guys in the chat so everybody can see what I'm talking about. Nick Sweeney, what's up, dog? Been waiting on you. You're a little bit late, but it's cool. I'm here now. Let's begin, please, says Nick Sweeney. Thank you. Finally. So, guys, we're finally at the starting line. Make sure your shoes are tied and we'll get going. Oh, I posted a little snippet. It's a minute and a half long video of Steve Ranella building and operating a Buffalo Bolt. So you have like a kind of a, I mean, it took the dude all day. Let's watch the video. Give him some love, you know. But it's a good minute and a half video. So you understand like they're not necessarily the easiest things to build or operate. I think we think of the Old West in terms of like everything worked perfectly. It's like, no, a lot of times there was water splashing in these boats. It was hard to operate. They were hard to assemble. And it was just everything. Every little task was an all-day ordeal and uh, a lot of accounts. Let's see. Old timers. All right, guys, before I'm going to get lost in the chat. So we're going to cover Treaty 7 real quick, just an overview of it. It happened there was like, it seems like two parts of it. It was signed between the First Nations tribes. Let me look up the exact tribes too. I know it was the Blackfoot, but I believe there's a Blackfoot, the Bears Paw Nation. The Blackfoot signed this, it seems like, in their separate bands. So the Bears Paw Nation and the Chiniki Nation, which is like, if you ever heard of the Stoney First Nation, it'd be Southern Canada for us, kind of in the same area. Then the Blood Tribe, the Piikani Tribe, I've read these before, but they're tough out loud. The Siksika Nation, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and the Wesley First Nation. So Stoney, Sarsi, and Blackfoot nations all signed. There's seven different bands officially had leaders signed, so that's why it's called. I believe that's why it's called Treaty 7. And now Canada is split up into these different treaty zones, like that have been promised to the tribes. See if I can let you guys see this too. So I did not really know about this. Numbered treaties map. So any Canadian, maybe you guys can explain this in a little more detail, but this was shocking to me. So we see down here, I don't know if I can zoom in on it for you guys. But these are all the areas divided up by tribes that treaties were signed for. And right down here, I believe, is Treaty 7 area. Playing some Red Dead Redemption while watching the stream. Cool, man. Actually, we're going to talk about that when we're done with this, because I've been watching a lot of Red Dead gameplay. And I think it'd be cool to watch along to the gameplay. And also, I got to try playing it. It's such a cool game. Even if you guys aren't into video games, this is so cool. I'm not into video games, and I've been looking into it. Super cool. We got to dive into that a little bit. Let's see here. So, am I still? Okay. Let's make it see what I bring up here. So, Treaty 7 signed on December 4th. Let's see if I'm missing anything here. It was negotiated by leaders from all of these bands, directly negotiated with the British Crown. I mean, obviously through proxies with Canadian leadership. It basically confined the Blackfoot. It is a contentious issue today. I've looked up a couple of videos on it in Canadian media. It is maybe kind of like, I mean, it is like our confinement of the tribes to the reservations. It seemed like this is a little bit more of a immediate, the consequences here were a little bit more immediate, where several tribes were all relegated to their areas at once, where ours took relative years, if not decades. But it's a very sensitive topic in Blackfoot history today, and many of the tribes' history. Obviously, they feel like they got a raw deal. I think many people it would be hard to argue that in many respects, as is a common motif in frontier history. We've seen the same thing countless times, but a great analogous example or comparative example would be the Shawnee at Boonesboro, right before coming into conflict with the British coming westward at that time. They had been relegated to a tiny little strip of their land really along the river, so it'd be more like that. But they're used to hunting this huge swath of land, big swath of land, and now it's confined to this little strip. So you have to wait for the buffalo to come through there, if they come through there at all. Uh, if there's a lot of game, let's say there's a lot of elk running around, and then they're to the west of your strip, you can't get to them. You essentially have to just like sit and watch them until they come to your little strip of land, and then you can get them. You can only grow food. You're trying to implement these new agricultural practices that you're being taught by the government, and you're relegated to this little strip of land. So everything is just much more difficult from there on out. That was, I think, I'm trying to think of a direct analogy, but maybe the turning point would be like Wounded Knee, where there was just a before and after event, and there was no going back from Treaty 7. Something I think we should talk about more, but I wanted to just do a quick dive into this, bring it to your guys' attention. It seems like the Canadians in the chat already know about it. Okay, now I can scan through the chat real quick. 83% of our audience, primarily Americans. All right. But we have not heard of Treaty 7. So what, is 17% of our audience Canadian? That would be pretty cool. Isn't your guys' prime minister dating Katy Perry now? I don't know if that, is that a step up or a step down? Let me know. Let's see. Buffalo Bowl Battle Bolts. That's tough to say, but be a good ride at Disneyland. Let's see. The Blackfoot also studied wolves, learning and mimicking their strengths in nature. Yeah, that's true. And that's a lot of tribes. Like they would not just observe the spirit or the innate traits of an animal. They would practice what the animal did because it worked. They would hunt like wolves. They would find ways that different animals stayed warm and mimic that. Follow animal tracks to water sources. Let's see. Dan Robertson knows this stuff if you guys haven't been in here before. Oh, you said they dedicated individual tribesmen to the study of wolves. Really, I did not know that. And there's like, that's why it's good to get in here and talk to you guys about this, because, you know, there's only so much time in the day. Sometimes your research of something is rather peripheral. So we have a lot of experts in this community. So it's good to get in here and, you know, toss some information around. Nick Sweeney saying, it's not my fault that I was late. My dog ate my phone. Typical Nick Sweeney talk. Let's see. John Doe says, if wolf can live here, so can we. Yeah, that's their exact thought process. You want to, as my high school coach would say, emulate the athlete. I think he said imitate. I don't know. Emulate, nice guy, but maybe not directly in his vocabulary. Maybe it was. I don't know. But limited in short stories by Kate with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Short stories by Kate, a repeat benefactor of this program. So thank you so much. Limited in the land size to grow things. What if the land was all mountains? In this case, it would be generally be plains, but pick your poison there, right? It's wherever, either one of those. If you don't have tilling equipment, if you don't have tractors and stuff, it's going to be very difficult to grow things there, especially if you're brand new to agriculture. It would be like taking you or I, presumably, to the plains, giving us some horses and saying, okay, go harvest some buffalo with this bow and arrow. Let me see. Mojo says, I don't like seeing new signs posted where I hunt. Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? Like someone, if you have a hunting property and private equity comes and buys up the real estate on both sides of it, you're going to be like, what the hell, you know? It's in fact just like that. And then if they took away your ability to hunt on that property and said, now you have to farm it, it would be a rough go and you wouldn't be real happy. In, let's see, this is a tough one for me to read. Alba Twitch Wiggler 6905. In the Crown treaties, they made provisions for the native to have rights to hunt and fish all Crown lands, not just those of their treaty reservations. Okay, cool. Like I haven't seen that before, so that's valuable information. So they do seem like they're a little bit more magnanimous terms with the Crown, with Canada, but you know, through Canada with the British Crown. They're more magnanimous terms, it seems like, with the tribes. I don't know if there was as a contentious and withdrawn of a conflict between the Canadian government and their native tribes, as there was between the United States government and the native tribes here. So that's interesting. Thanks for the contribution, Albo Witch Wiggler. Let's see. They don't have a lifestyle. No. Totally alien way of living. Yeah, absolutely. Mojo88 says, I've trespassed chasing deer as a younger man through property, though property owners yelled at me. Some of those are some of the funniest YouTube short videos I've seen where they're teenagers getting yelled at for like fishing on someone's land. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be fishing on someone's land. Don't do that. But the argument that ensues is usually pretty funny. Let's see. Out here in Arizona, it says, Arizona boy, there are a lot of reservations, and I can say for certain the natives got the raw end of the deal. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's, it's hard to argue that, I would say. I was thinking about that earlier. It's like, it'd be hard to argue that any native tribe in America wasn't mistreated to some degree by the United States government. And there's nuance to that. Don't get me wrong, guys. I know there are arguments to that and arguments that I would listen to, but in general, it's I think today they're probably the most underserved community in America, if we're going to be fully circumspect about it. Let's see. Alba Witch says it's usually just best to ask permission to hunt on a land. True. You don't end up with very funny YouTube shorts from that, but let's see. Am I missing anything else in the chat? So thank you so much, Alba Witch Wiggler, clarifying how terms between the Crown through the Canadian government, obviously, but the British Crown, their treaty terms do seem a little bit more, I guess, magnanimous, probably the best way I could put it. Charitable, maybe. Harsh conditions in Arizona's deserts. That's what I've heard. Though if you go up to, where is it in the mountains? The name just skips my mind right now. The mountain town. I can't believe I've driven through there several times. Scottsdale? Let's see. I say the White Mountain Apache probably got the best real estate in Arizona. Yeah, and like I said, there's nuance to this. Like there's the casino, the wealth made off of casinos, but even that extremely concentrated to a couple people at the top of the pyramid, the proverbial pyramid. Anyone found fishing on my land will be found here. Little X crossbones. Maybe just chill out a little bit, Nick Sweeney. We'll give him a little bit of a talking to, and then maybe escalate the second and third time they come out. But I don't know if you can just go straight to that option. That's aggressive, man. I'm not telling you not to. Okay, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, take a breath. Mojo says there was a deer shot on my property. I had to chase a deer down 4 or 5 miles. Oh man, that's a lot of work. Let's see. Any more questions about, if anybody's seen the Blackfoot episode and have any questions on that, happy to answer those. If you have anything else you want to hit about the Blackfoot before we move on, then we are going to, I got to look at my list of topics here. Where do I have them right now? We're going to missing people in the Old West, but I feel like I have one more that I'm leaving out here. Been a busy day, guys. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I had that right. Famous chiefs and missing people. So has anyone out there seen, why are they called? Okay, yeah, let me get a couple of these in there. Good. We got some questions. Dan Robertson asks, was the landscape changed by a byproduct of the conflict? Perhaps the elimination of game, introduction of invasive foliage, routing of rivers, streams, all in the effort of conquering the Blackfoot? I don't know about the routing of rivers and streams in the particular case of the Blackfoot, but the elimination of game, yes, there were still the elimination of the buffalo herds. There were buffalo hunters in Canada, and then the buffalo hunters in America, obviously it's the same buffalo herds. Basically, they migrate south and then back north. So as they're being eliminated, as they're just being shot wholesale, mostly post Civil War, because you had a lot of ex-soldiers proficient with firearms that were willing and able to do the job, that reverberated down, up and down the plains. So happened mostly kind of in the middle of the plains, from like North Texas up to Montana, somewhere in there. But that reverberated up and down, north and south. So the tribes in South Texas were bereft of buffalo, basically. They had wandered well into Central Texas and into Mexico, even. There's still some buffalo in Mexico, I believe. And then the tribes far to the north, just as affected. They're just fewer buffalo. And I've seen different theories posited as to whether that was to, equip the Industrial Revolution and with hides for their machinery, because basically you needed so many buffalo hides in large part to make the leather straps that powered a lot of the new machinery that kind of. Another skip. Everybody got me back. I started talking about the Industrial Revolution and our technology shorts out. Can everybody see me? Give me any response in the chat. Make sure I'm not skipping out again. Guys, I don't know. Thanks, Terry R. We're back. All right. Sorry, guys. I don't know. I got all the tabs closed. Crystal clear. Like I said last night, I think it's just that everyone in this complex is on their computers right now on the Wi-Fi, probably up to all kinds of degeneracy, but not here. It's StreamYard also. Maybe it may be. I've seen a couple other streams have some problems. As long as I didn't lose you guys. Streaming service sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, we were talking about the purposeful elimination of the buffalo herds. They were being hunted, sure, for their hides and for the leather to make the straps for the machinery in the Industrial Revolution. But also, I mean, it's not an uncommon warfare tactic to eliminate your enemy's means of survival, right? Eliminate their food, their supplies. But I think there's also a misconstrued notion of like, oh, they were burning the prairie and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, they were. That wasn't great. But the burning the prairie, there was lots of land management. It wasn't uncommon to burn the prairie or to burn patches of forest and stuff like that. The tribes did practice wildlife management. They did not hunt just for meat or use every single part of every animal at all times. There's lots of accounts of many buffalo being found with just the choicest like backstrap cuts of meat taken out and just the choicest cuts, or found and just stripped like normal hide hunters would do, because it was like a grocery store to the tribes. It's like, well, I need some hide, so I'm going to go shoot a buffalo and get the buffalo hide or whatever it might be, right? So that wasn't the common de facto practice, but it was like anything else. If you had a recipe that if you're making an apple pie, you're not going to use the skin and the core of the apple when you just need the apple. You just need the outside cut up, right? So same thing for them. They're going to a grocery store and procuring the ingredients that they need. But all that said, just to say that like the management of the landscape is not inherently nefarious, but I think, yeah, they were in many cases driven out. Their areas were hunted clean of any game for purposeful reason to drive them out and drive them into terms where like, well, you have no more food left, you have nowhere to hunt, and if you did have somewhere to hunt, you have no more animals left to hunt with. So it was certainly a purposeful effort to some degree on behalf of the United States government. Let's see. Okay, back to the stream. Good question though, Dan. Let's see. Because Nick Sweeney, you asked where did the name Blackfoot come from, and Alba Witch answers it in the chat. That's my answer to Alba Witch. That they would be encountered by traders on the Hudson Bay, I believe, or traders from Hudson Bay, but they would walk to the Hudson Bay, and because of the aforementioned prairie fires, which were, started on purpose and sometimes from a lightning strike, but they were common. There's lots and miles and miles and miles of prairie to burn. It's going to burn at some point. It would burn pretty often. So when the Blackfoot would walk from central Canada to the trading post near the Hudson Bay, their moccasins would get all black with soot. And so when they would be seen by the traders, they would have black feet. And so they were known as the Blackfeet. And really, it was the Blackfeet, I believe. And that was one band. And then it coalesced into the Blackfoot Confederacy. Oh, $5 from Terry R. Another form of siege warfare when taking their food source. Yes, a very drawn out form of siege warfare, but siege warfare nonetheless. Let's see. Are you Nick Sweeney saying maybe that's how they looked when Lewis and Clark first encountered them? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look through the journals to see if they mentioned their black feet. Let's see. Because I believe they referred to them. A lot of these tribes they referred to under other names. I believe they referred to them as the Piegans. I'd have to double check that. Let's see. It was total war, says John Doe. Yeah, it really was. More than people understand today. And I think a lot of people's understanding of the native wars in Northern America specifically comes from movies. And a lot of this stuff you just can't put in movies. It's not going to be, you're never going to get it in theaters. So it obscures a lot of people's understanding of how crazy things really were. The prairies would burn themselves anyways. Wildfires were common. Yeah, Albowitch. Yeah, exactly. So much history has been lost. There is a lot of history lost, certainly. But there's a lot that's retained. And the closer we get to modernity, there's more and more retained. So it's also fascinating. It's amazing how many photos and journals and firsthand accounts we have, especially from the 1800s, 19th century. Last of the Mohicans has to be closest to how things were, or Apocalypto. Yeah, I would say Apocalypto, Last of the Mohicans, Hostiles, I'm a big fan of. Probably forgetting a couple others. There's been a few, though. But it's hard to make something that's going to be terribly cinematically popular and is able to show the totality of what really happened. Because it is total warfare. Like, they don't really show total warfare in any war movie. Maybe like Platoon or something. It's pretty rare. Real life is not very appealing most of the time, so it follows real history. So follows real history. Yeah, a lot of history was just like doing chores. Like 99% of history was just people doing chores. $5 super chat from Dan Robertson. Good night. Okay, Corral. Thank you for plenty to contemplate on this fine evening. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for the support, man. Really appreciate it. You're a repeated benefactor of this program. I believe you're a member, so thank you so much for your support. Really, really appreciate everybody. Short Stories by Kate, Terry R., all you guys. You make it possible. So have a good night, man. Have fun contemplating. We'll see you back. We're going to be back tomorrow at noon for a coffee talk and tomorrow night. So we got plenty to cover this week. Have a good night, man. Good seeing you. Eating some pecan pie right now, says Elite Super Grunt. Man, I'm jealous. I had some really good pecan pie at my Thanksgiving, and I didn't bring a piece home, which was dumb. That was my fault. I did eat the last piece of the buttermilk pie. My grandma made a killer buttermilk pie. Like, every bite was just like, what even is this? So that's really kind of the maybe second or third time I remember seeing buttermilk pie at our family spread. It's got to be a recurring thing now. It's amazing. When the legend and truth conflict, print the legend. True. That's usually what people did. And that's, if you didn't see our episode last night, Jeff C88, Jeff Psy, I think I'm saying that. Jeff C88. We did a watch party for the Ballad of Buster Scruggs last night. And that's a great example of printing the legend, because is it exactly truth? No, but it is exemplified. It's exemplary in many ways of the truth told through the legend. So it's a common theme. It's been happening since dime novels, any kind of popular literature, tabloids. There's like tabloids of the 1800s. The dime novels, especially of like Kit Carson and Jim Bridger and Custer, were all mostly legend, but a little smidge of truth. You got to sell, right? You got to sell. Hello, sorry I'm late, says Julie Nelson. Oh, well, thank you for being here, Julie Nelson. Glad you made it. $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you're late, it doesn't matter. Just glad you're here. So, yeah, any more questions about the Blackfoot? We got some good Blackfoot questions there. Let me make sure I didn't miss any before we jump into our. Oh, and Alba Witch also brought up another great point. Buffalo hunters were often, not always, but often under contract from railroad companies that were clearing them out of the way for the railroads to come through. And because they were oftentimes hitting them, they were like an insurance problem. If you've ever driven in the Northeast or the Southeast, or anywhere there's a lot of deer, you know that's a problem. Like even if you hit a deer, it's a big problem for your vehicle. So it's the same problem, but with buffaloes and trains. Buffaloes are huge, so it can cause big problems for your trains. If you hit one, cost you lots of money. You're in the middle of nowhere, you have to fix it. It's a whole thing, and they were tired of dealing with that, so they thought, let's get rid of the buffalo. Easy peasy. Probably not the kindest thing to do, but that's true. It's been happening since Agamemnon and the Trojan horse. Yeah, absolutely. None of this stuff is new. Like they say, history repeats. Doesn't literally repeat, but I think it is secular and it rhymes, I would say. Man, a lot of good Blackfoot knowledge in here. Thank you, Alba Witch Wiggler, by the way. So we have a lot of people come through the chats that just know a ton of stuff that either I missed in research or wasn't able to fit into the script, or they're from the area. Where are you from, Alba Witch? Alba Twitch? Alba. I need to tell me how to pronounce that too, if you can spell it out phonetically. Oh, we got 5 gifted memberships from from Mojo88. Thank you so much, man. You also, you had the option to gift memberships, so you can give memberships to other people in the chat. Thank you so much. That is so kind of you. Thank you very much. And we're adding more and more stuff for members. I'm going to start doing members only chats, members only episodes. And I would like to meet up too, and like get in chats and kind of talk about, use everybody as a research group, see which topics you'd like to see next, which live streams you'd like to see next, movies and stuff like that. So that'll be coming up. Hopefully, I think in this next week, let's just start doing the members only chats too. Because now we got a good little community going. So I think it'd be fun to do even more deep dives from our deep dives, and we'll do movie nights and stuff like that. So give you lots of incentives to join. I think I set the memberships at $199. It's the cheapest they would let me set them. So it's at the most affordable price we can give y'all. So thank y'all very much for joining, and we'll make it well worth your while. Hit a Buffalo. Terry R. Hit a Buffalo. Buy the Buffalo program wasn't working well enough, I guess. No, it was a mess. Like, so look, I understand if I'm a railroad magnate, having the thought float through my head that, well, wouldn't it be easier just to, like, no buffalo problems. But then I would stop right there and be like, well, that's kind of crazy. But the 1800s, it was, believe it or not, the Wild West. $5 super chat from Julie Nelson. I enjoyed your live stream on John Wesley Hardin. Comanche looks like a cool little town. It is. It's a very cool little town. It's really grown in the last couple of years. I've been through there since I was a little kid, and they have a beer garden now, which would have been inconceivable even 10, 15 years ago. So it's really growing, has a lot of great history. If you're in that area, I highly recommend visiting Comanche. And you can go to the town square and walk the same steps that I did, where we were we walked the trail that John Wesley Harding took to shoot the sheriff, which really blew his legend up as an outlaw. And he was eventually caught and convicted for and sentenced to 25 years to life, I believe. And he eventually became a lawyer himself, got out of prison, went to El Paso, and was promptly in the back of the head. So it's a nice little Old West story. One thing I was about to remember. Oh, yeah, Arizona Boy. I didn't know that. So this is a cool aspect of the members only videos. If you just want to hear the sound, you can click the lock button on your phone, and it'll keep playing the audio from the video, but it won't use the video. So it won't like run down your battery, and you can listen to it essentially as a podcast. And also, most of our videos are up as audio podcasts now too. And we've got some really cool stuff coming in December that I think you guys will like. Some more like audio stuff. Like now it's coming in December, I say, but really it's coming in like a week and a half. So coming soon. Let's see. Albawitch says it's just a nonsensical name. Albatwitch comes to us from a Pennsylvania Dutch folklore. I didn't know that. They were evidently seeing little hair-covered cryptids be albatwitched, bastardized from German. Dude, like the Dutch just have the creepiest folklore. They really do. A little hair-covered cryptid, just like, ugh. But delicious pies. Delicious pies. Oh, that's my next order of business. Also, before we jump into missing people in the Old West, which is just a little, kind of a little teaser. Don't worry, there's going to be a whole live stream coming on this week. But the Dubai cupcakes have been a little bit more labor-intensive process than I had anticipated, which is fine. But we'll have them to you this week. We'll be eating those on air, trying them out, letting you know what we think, whether they get the HOKC stamp of approval or the stamp of shame. And then also the sawdust pie, which I'm excited to try. It's supposed to be like coconut and graham cracker and pecans put in a shell. So it should be good. How can it be bad? Absolutely. The closest gas station to my house is a Speedway. They have a cemetery right next to it where they found Queen Aliquippa, an Indian woman chief. The cemetery is now a Revolutionary War monument, I'm guessing. That's a good thing about America. We have our history smashed right up against our modernity. Arizona boy. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay. So let me check one more time. Maybe there's quite a few chats coming in here, which is great. Good to see everybody here. Okay. I think I got everybody. Space Cowboy says, I got some Dubai chocolates from Lowe's, which I don't know if that's the best place to buy your Dubai chocolate, Space Cowboy. And what's up, Space Cowboy? I don't know if I've seen you yet. Did you? Because you're making, what were you making tonight? You had bagel and lox today, right? Armenian Bishop, good to see you. But Space Cowboy, not impressed with the Dubai chocolate, huh? I don't know that I'll be, but I want to try it. Armenian Bishop missed the membership giveaway party. Well, there'll be another one. We've had quite a few gifted. And no pressure, but if you want to sign up, it's like $2 a month and we'll make it well worth your while. We were just talking about this, but members only episodes, members only chats, members only movie nights, all kinds of stuff. Just for fun. We want to make sure everybody, if you like more history, it will give you more history. We got plenty more to give you. Small package of chocolate bites, but not impressed. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. My hopes aren't super high, but I could see it being good. Sometimes I like stuff that other people don't love. Let's see. Mike Holtz, what's up, man? Good to see you. Extra HOKC awesomeness, money well spent. That's what we're going for. We're going for it. Absolutely. We want to make it, affordable, but something everybody can get because we know we have a lot of history fans. So if you guys want more, we got plenty more. We'll say that. Let's see. Mike Holtz, are you up in, where are you at, Mike Holtz? Are you in Iowa? I just watched the Cyhawk duel today. Surprising outcome. Next week for Christmas, I'll donate 5 more subs, says Mojo Baseball. Thank you so much. Y'all come on back because I think we're growing the membership, so it'll be fun to hang out with everybody. Go Clones, says Mike Holtz. You guys came out on top today, man. You guys did great today. What a match. What a duel. HOKC part of the 199. I'm not sure what you mean. I live in Shelby, suburbs of Detroit. Oh, yeah, man. I'm sorry. Detroit. Yeah, what's up? Good to see you again, though. Like I've given you like 20 shout outs to Detroit. So did you watch the Jack White halftime show? I like Jack White, man. He's a little weird, but I've been a White Stripes fan since the get-go. Nick Sweeney. Oh, what did Nick Sweeney say? The complaining, this must be the world's most elaborate and challenging cupcakes. Just make them already. Nick, do you want it done fast or do you want it done right? You know what I mean? Terry R says with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Terry R. Nick Sweeney, pastries must not be rushed. Thank you for standing up for us, Terry R. Nick Sweeney can be a menace sometimes. I don't think he understands pastries, you know? He's not a pastry guy. Maybe we can convert him. Elite Super Grunt says 190. Sorry, Mike Holtz. He's a top here. He and Eminem. Yeah. That was, I don't know, man. I didn't get to see the he and Eminem part. I could see that jiving or not jiving. Kid Rock suspiciously absent. And Eminem really got his start on Kid Rock's first album. He's on the last track of that. Elite Super Grunt says 199 is a meme from the Geek and Gamers YouTube channel. I'll have to check that out. You're drawing me more into the gamer world, Elite Super Grunt. I really did. I watched like an hour of Red Dead Redemption gameplay. Red Dead 2, too. Very cool, great story. I mean, I'm excited to get into that. And like another great vehicle for Old West history. Is it literally accurate? No, but the same as Buster Scruggs, where it's like, this is going to get people into Old West history for sure. It did. It did get people into it. Did you get the recipe for the cookies I sent you? I did, Arizona boy. I forgot to thank you so much. We'll put those on the show too. I'm not the world's best baker. I might be the worst, but I'll give it a go. Let's see. All things Detroit music scene is appreciated here. Kid Rock, Jack White, Ted Nugent, Bob Seger. Absolutely. Dude, Bob Seger. I just listened to Gambling Man from Bob Seger. So good. So good. Let's see. Okay. So I think we got the chats done. Oh, Space Cowboy says Moonstruck Chocolate Company, Dubai style chocolate. That's not the best. Don't go for them. That's what you're saying. All right. Thanks for the heads up, dude. Because if I'll be honest with you, if my first try isn't good, yeah, I'll be a little bit bummed out. Elite Super Grunt says you left out ICP. Whoop whoop. I have. Okay, we'll get into this real quick. I was a bouncer in downtown Austin for years, right? I worked at a venue down there, and I was like backstage and everything, did everything there, right? Whatever, helped with all that stuff. So ICP came through town, I think 2016, let's say. That was the craziest show I've ever worked. Everyone was super nice. All the juggalos, super nice, super polite, but they spray Faygo everywhere. This like soda. It smells like Robitussin kind of. And they mix it up and they shoot the bottle caps. So they were shooting bottle caps into the roof. There was this like styrofoam insulation. They're shooting bottle caps. Everything, the carpet and everything had to be replaced because it was soaked in Faygo. Everyone themselves is soaked in this sticky Faygo, and they're just having the time of their lives. It was a crazy show. I don't even really understand what I saw, but it was something I'll never forget. Elite Super Grunt says, Faygo shower. Yeah. We have any juggalos in here? Yo, that was super nice. They're just like, I didn't really even understand what I was seeing. So I want to put another chat up here. I'm going to end this chat. I encourage everyone to go look further into the history of Treaty 7. But another chat here. Have you ever heard of Missing 411? So this is just going to be kind of a primer on what's coming up. Like I said, Joe McGee. Oh, Elite Super Grunt. Are you a juggalo? They have a lot of different kinds of Faygo, says Mojo. Yeah, I know, man. Like they every available flavor they had that night. Like there was because I know because of all these different types of bottles and the different smells. And I'm like 90% of the crowd was full on juggalo, like made up. It was wild. And it smelled like Faygo for literally weeks afterwards. One time when I was a kid, we burned this dead cow. There's no other way to get rid of it. I think I talked about this before, but on my aunt's birthday, we loaded it up with railroad ties, like these old railroad ties, and put a bunch of gasoline or something on it and burned it. And that wasn't the best idea because it stunk like dead cow for years, literally years. And I was thinking about that after the ICP concert because I was like, this is the same thing. It's going to smell like Faygo for years. Nick Sweeney, be nice to the juggalos, Nick Sweeney. Don't abuse the juggalos. It's not living up to the hype so far. Dubai chocolate's not living up to the hype, but I will try more, says Space Cowboy. I was hoping for more pistachio flavors. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that about the cupcakes, that there's not a lot of pistachio, which I think that's a nice part about making them myself, because then I can manipulate that a little bit. I'll put a little more pistachio in. One time we burned a carp. Oh man, you burned a carp, Mojo 88? Oh, that sounds terrible. Though I had a lot of friends growing up in my area in California. A lot of my friends were Hmong. They were like, it's a hill tribe from Vietnam, and they came directly from the hills in Vietnam. Their parents did, so they would have migrated right after the Vietnam War, 75, I believe, and they were down. They'd go to the local canals around our area in Central California and catch carp and eat them like no problem. The whole family would eat it. They'd cook them up, how whatever way they were used to. But I was always impressed by that. I was like, man, I don't know if I could do that. Mojo says, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Flaming cow, says Space Cowboy. Yeah, dude, it took forever to burn too. That cow was lit up I bet you it was lit up for 18 hours. And that thing burned and burned and burned. And the neighbors were smelling it. They're like, what the hell are you guys doing over there? There wasn't me and like my cousins or something. This was all the adults in the family. They were just like, it's out there. We got to burn it because it died out there somehow, unalived out there somehow. So it's out there like boom, like this on its side, and it's all bloated up. So it's not a good look. It doesn't help the real estate value, but apparently neither does like burning it and letting the smell linger for, I'm serious, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I think it happened before I was in high school, and it was well after high school before the smell went away. Let's see. Maybe I'll add some amaretto extract. I'm going to try the basic recipe first, but I'm probably going to add some eventually. Oh, wait, let me check the chat real quick. I forgot to put the chat up. Have you ever heard of missing 411? 54% of you have not. Really? Okay, so this will be interesting. So I'm not even sure where to start then if we don't have, if you like conspiracy theories, it is a great one to dive into. There's a guy named David Politis, and he is a former police, I believe, detective with the San Jose Police Department. And let me bring him up real quick. I believe after his retirement, started seeing all these suspicious missing person cases, particularly around the Sierra Nevada mountains, which is Eastern California. Yosemite has a huge mountain range. It's the mountain range Yosemite is in, a massive mountain range that runs, probably runs 3/4 of the state on the eastern side. But there's an unusual amount of people that go missing, particularly in Yosemite, and they never are seen again. It's inexplicable. There's no evidence as to what happened to them. And then there's many other cases where people go missing and reappear in areas that should be impossible. There's one of I think 2 or 3-year-old boy who went missing from his family and was found a couple hours later, about 15 miles away on top of a mountain, I think with no shoes and all that stuff, and no recollection of what had happened or how he got there. There's several cases like this: kids, adults, elderly, going missing either permanently or having no recollection of what happened to them, from the Appalachian Trail to the Pacific Northwest to the Northeast to particularly Yosemite. And this is not a new phenomenon. This isn't terribly covered by Politis. We have far less evidence to support some of these stories, but missing people in the Old West was a real thing. A particular example that comes to my mind is the Bloody Benders, who was essentially a serial unaliver family that lived in Kansas on the very, very edge of the frontier just after the Civil War. And they made this kind of bed and breakfast. We talked about this in our Halloween episode. We lightly touched on it. But they made a bed and breakfast right off the wagon trail that went through, and people could stop there, stay the night, get a hot meal. It was a little general store, so you could buy beans, you could buy coffee, you could buy other things. But people would stay there and just go missing. And what ended up happening was they would be tricked into sitting down for dinner, and Pa Bender, this big German guy who supposedly didn't speak English, but never spoke at all anyway, so no one knew, would stand behind this sheet that separated their cabin, separated their personal quarters from the bed and breakfast side of the cabin, which is already like, you really want to stay here? Either way, he would sneak up behind the sheet and wham, hit their guest who's dining with an axe or a sledgehammer, depending on what account you read. Then they would rob the person and disappear them. Some people say under the house, like Gacy style. Others say, a long ways away in a communal grave there. But people would go missing. Lots of people were going missing in the local area. They didn't know. And there was no real notion of serial unalivers yet. You lived in small communities. You could usually trust the people that you're around. But the Benders were looked at as total weirdos. Like I said, Pa didn't talk at all. Ma hardly talked. It was unclear if if those two were married, but they seemed like they were. But it was unclear if the two ostensible children, Kate and what was her brother, I forget his name, but another weirdo too. It was unclear if they were married or brother and sister or possibly both. And then Kate was also she was the one unweirdo, the one not weird, who was popular about town, but seemed like she was the linchpin in this operation because she would lure in the normal citizens and make them feel real comfortable hanging out, have some dinner. You want some extra potatoes? Wham! You know, but so these four weirdos carried out this operation. People go missing for years. And when finally people get suspicious enough and this little vigilante mob gets together and comes to the Bender's house to at least question them and see what's going on. One prominent member of the community had finally gone missing, and he was the last place he was seen was for sure the Bender's house. So they're hot on the trail of the Benders, and the Benders disappear. They're never seen again. There's no account. There's supposed accounts of the sister down in New Mexico and supposed accounts of some out west, of the brother being out west in Colorado or California, but they disappeared, and there's no answer to what happened to all these people. People went missing actually, we got some super chats coming in. Super chat from Short Stories by Katie. $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Is there a missing persons hotspot? Today, yeah, the hotspot's Yosemite. David Paulides will show, I don't know if I can have a lecture from him pop up here, but David Paulides will show a hotspot map of missing person cases, and you'll see quite a few on the Appalachian Trail. You'll see a suspicious number in like the Ozarks area of Oklahoma. And then a fair number in the deserts in Arizona and Southern California and in the Mojave. And then it's just a bright white gleaming patch right over Yosemite. Just so many people. I read a book recently, I forget the name of it, but about a park ranger who went missing there, was finally found. It looked like he's self-unalived, but just one of so many people. And the trail, the search party had to cover so much area. It goes, I don't think people think of Yosemite as just one valley, but it's miles and miles and miles and miles of mountains on both sides. Much of it is inaccessible. Much of it is blocked off by the government. So anything could have happened to these people. There are many, many, many strange accounts from residents of the Sierra Nevadas about feral people, secret hidden military bases, DUMBs, if you're not familiar with that term. It's deep underground military bases, dumb. So that's another thing to poke around the conspiracy corners of the internet with. But in terms of the Old West, many, many people went missing, and there's still no idea why. Obviously, there's accounts of cryptids. There's accounts of Wendigos and skinwalkers and Bigfoot taking them. There's accounts of aliens. There's accounts of people just flat disappearing. Many accounts from the Indifferent Stars Above. I forget who authored it, but it is a great book on the Donner Party and on survival in the Old West in general. The Indifferent Stars Above. Highly recommend it. But there are many accounts of people going missing, specifically children, because you'd see your kid and then you'd turn around, and then the next time you'd turn around and look back, there would just be tall prairie grass, and who knows where the kid went. Did something take him? Did a raiding party take him? Nobody knows, and nobody would ever know. And many, many times people just disappeared. People would go, men would go on hunting trips, simply disappear. Whole parties of mountain men would simply disappear. And there was no search party, no way to even kind of surmise what area they might be in. no communication, no cell phones, no anything. And their families and friends were left to just simply move on, especially on the wagon trains. You can't stop here. You have to get to California. So they would simply move on without their child or grandfather, whatever. This happens so many times. And also dogs, horses, pets just go missing. And sure, that happens, but it happened a lot. It happened with such great frequency that it would kind of work its way into the local lore of a lot of places, but there was no like national registry to report these things. And it stretches from there are missing persons accounts from the Superstition Mountains, from the Sierras, from Washington, from Texas, from New York, all over. And it's something that I think we really underestimate. And it begs the question of like, were these people disappearing are they disappearing in the same manner that people are disappearing today? And then that obviously begs the question, well, how are they disappearing today? We don't know. But I think it would behoove us as people who are interested in this topic to do a watch party along with David Paulides' movie Missing 411 The Hunted, which I think is particularly apropos for our purposes, because it focuses on specifically hunters who went missing, which I think is more indicative of an Old West scenario. You would have mostly men going out into the wilderness, armed men, which I think is important because it sets a different scenario. It means that they at least had some way to defend themselves and still went missing and were never found again. So I think that's the most directly analogous film for us to watch. But I'm thinking maybe tomorrow. I'll post a link to it here. Copy link address. Yeah, I'll post a link to it. It's free on YouTube, so one of those that everybody can easily watch. Posting the link to it in the chat right now. Highly recommend it. It would even be good for you if you want something to do on a Monday to get you through the workday. Listen to it as you're working tomorrow, and then it'll be a little primer for what we're going to talk about. But can't recommend it highly enough. Any David Paulides lecture, you can find them easily online. Listen, I'm not vouching for everything the guy says. Okay, he's just entertaining, and the theories that they profit. They don't even profit theories on what might have happened. They just tell the stories of these people who have gone missing, and it's both terrifying and fascinating. So well worth your time, I think, if you're interested in Old West history at all, because the cause of these disappearances presumably is not new. It would have been something that the people in the Old West dealt with. So I think it's worth us diving into as well, because lots of people went missing, and it's just as creepy then as it is today. Let's see. There was an Alaskan tour. Well, I'm not sure what that means. Oh, Julie Nelson, a $5 super chat. Are the missing people in Yosemite those who remain missing or people who go missing but are found later? He has two separate categories. Like there's people who are found later and some that are never found again. But even those who are found later, obviously, it's not everybody. Like there are people who are found later and have a tangible, cogent account of what happened to them and what went wrong. But many times people just have no recollection of where they were or what was happening. A lot of times it's kids that are put in places. There's no way this 3-year-old, a 6-year-old account, a 6-year-old there's another account of a 6-year-old where they travel 5, 10, 15 miles in this mountainous terrain on their own, oftentimes barefoot. It's like, if you've ever met a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old, it's like, it's impossible. This is absolutely ridiculous to say that this kid just walked there. Like, and they don't give you a recollection of, oh, I was picked up and taken this way. They just have no idea how they got there. And it would have presumably would have taken them many, many hours to get to the top of a mountain or to the bottom of a holler, something like that. They're just found in inexplicable places. And it happened in the Old West as well. So it's like, well, what is going on here? And if it had been one person, you'd think, well, maybe this person has a psychiatric or neurological disorder. I don't know, something like that. But it happens again and again and again with relative frequency, especially looked at on a 150 year, 200-year spectrum. And in particular, in these areas in the Sierras and the Adirondacks and the Appalachians and the Ozarks. Ozarks are creepy. The Lore Lodge does a better job explaining than what. Oh, that's fair, man. Elite Super Grunt says we should listen to the Lore Lodge other than David Paulides. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Go check out the Lore Lodge for sure. The Lore Lodge probably does hmm, a more circumspect job. Like Paulides just does have a more slideshow approach, and sometimes like you wish that he would proffer some kind of explanation, but he is like kind of just giving you this slideshow of people who have gone missing. But I think the movie's interesting. But we could check out the Lore Lodge as well. I think I've recommended them before on the Halloween show. I'm a subscriber. I love the Lore Lodge. I think I can confidently say that the average American has no idea, no knowledge about, and no appreciation for what their pioneer ancestors went through and faced to settle America. No, they don't. Not at all. I think they would if we could make it interesting for them. I think that's why context is so important. Clock Cutter says, I finished American Primeval, never heard of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Seems like they did a decent job depicting it, lots of interesting intrigue, but the Mormons aren't happy about the show. Well, I'll save my Mormon opinions, I guess. They're very nice people. I got Mormon friends. I like the Mormons, but sometimes their history, it's a little sketch. Uh, maybe that'd be a good watch along, though. I haven't watched American Primeval yet. I know Clock Cutter, you're an astute historian yourself. So maybe that'll be one of our watch parties here coming up. The movies are okay. Elite Super Grunt. So you're just not a big David Paulides fan of Super Grunt, which I understand, man. I'm not. He's just the most accessible guy, I think. And he's got a movie out that's free on YouTube, and it's a. If you didn't know anything about the topic, it's I think the best point to dive off into, and then you can go explore on Lore Lodge. Aaron Mankey, right? Aaron Mankey, Lore Lodge. Big fan, Aaron, if you're watching. Little D or was okay. Little D or I'm gonna have to look into that. But that's why. Okay, so Elite Super Grunt, real quick. You're saying his first movie involved some kids and parents potentially unaliving stuff. That's why I thought let's do the Hunter movie. We'll check it out. I thought the Hunter movie would be a more analogous to Old West experiences. Never met a Mormon I didn't like, says Space Cowboy. Yeah, Mormons are nice people for sure. All I mean is sometimes their history seems a little indecipherable, I think would be a charitable way to say it. But nice people, nice people, nice people. The guys, I don't know about soda shops. I'm a big coffee drinker. They love soda shops. It's like you put ice cream, you put like whipped cream and soda with different flavorings. I can't go there. I'll have a panic attack. You're going to add extra sugar to soda. And it's not the health aspect. I don't care. But it's I don't know. It seems gratuitous. I get a root beer float for sure. I get that, but you're going to add they're adding like soft, like Starbucks syrups to soda and then a myriad of other things. And they're drinking that in place of coffee. And it's like, well, this seems far more indulgent than just a cup of black coffee. Marcus Aurelius, what's up, dude? What's up? Let's see. Okay, there's a lot of chats, so if I'm missing anything, forgive me. Let's see. Elite Super Grunt says, "Are you an ex-Mormon, Elite Super Grunt?" What's up, dog? Glad to have you then. We like Mormons, ex-Mormons. It's all good. Come on in. We got a couple Mormons in here. Okay. Good to see everybody. Has everybody seen Mountain Meadows Massacre? Mountain Meadows Massacre. Yes. Anyway, so if you're, we'll talk about that in a second. If you're interested in this topic, check out David Paulides, check out the Lore Lodge, and we'll come back. We're going to come back and really jump into this tomorrow with a longer episode. We'll do a watch along and we'll bring you theories. Like this is one of those things in history where it's like, we don't know. So let's toss around some ideas and see what we can come up with. Where did these people go? Let's see, I thought American Primeval was solid, says Mike Holtz. I've done a baptism for the dead at Temple in San Antonio. What does that mean, Elite Super Grunt? Let's see. I need to learn more about the Mormons. So Space Cowboy. Historically, it's fascinating. Let's see. Shout out to Catholic. Shout out to my Catholic brothers out there. Absolutely. Good to see y'all. Let's see here. Got a lot of Catholic friends, that's for sure. Central California is Catholic country. I need to, okay, rolling through the chats real quick. I finished, okay, I got that one. Any other questions about what we're going to be jumping into tomorrow? Any theories on where these people are going? Short Stories by Kate says present, getting called out for the Catholic roll call by Mike Holtz. Good to have you guys. Good to have you guys. Yeah, I just thought this, let's see, 50, oh, you know what? 52% of you ended up saying, I have heard of missing 411. That's what I was thinking, maybe 50-50. He's Politis has been a recurring guest on Art Bell too. We've talked a lot about Art Bell. So his interviews on there are, if nothing else, very entertaining. Scrolling through the chat real quick. And still, if you have any questions on the Blackfoot Chiefs, Treaty 7, I'll do my best to answer that. Or if I can't answer it, I'll be a conduit for a source that can. I got some articles and stuff brought up here that I've been studying. Let's see. I swear I have more Christmas lights than the Sphere in Vegas. Oh, yeah, that's what you said you were putting those up today. That go okay? We get the lights up, Space Cowboy? We were eating bagels and putting up Christmas lights today. Armenian Bishop says, I like early Christian music from the 1500s. Byzantine chant or Gregorian chant. The stories behind those are fascinating too, how they were developed and invented. Bigfoot is always Bigfoot. He moves far and fast. Maybe good. Oh, good guess. Good guess at any rate. Yeah, also it's a good question to wonder, like, if there are Bigfoot, what's their range? Are they sweeping up our people? And like, how far does a Bigfoot travel? Is he going, I don't know, is it like a mountain lion where they can go hundreds of miles? We don't know. And are they just flat out interdimensional? Are they taking people from our dimension into another dimension? If you've seen Stranger Things, I have not. Okay. I got other things to do. But Stranger Things is coming back out. Stranger Things is based on the Montauk Project run by our trusty government here, post World War II, where they were essentially like trying to delve into other dimensions. And by many accounts, were successful. But a lot of the elements that are in Stranger Things, like the monsters and the experiments, were all based in reality. So there's something to interdimensionality, let's say. Byzantine, Armenian Bishop says, oh, Byzantine chants, but I was thinking more about Catholic Europe, so Gregorian chants. Let's see, still hanging, Space Cowboy. Oh, you're still hanging the lights, man. You must have an elaborate setup, bro. We're missing Bama Deanna this evening, says Short Stories by Kate. We are missing Bama Deanna. I wonder where she's at. Hopefully she's watching and just didn't make it to the chat. I'm sure she'll be here tomorrow. I was an active member of LDS. I performed my priestly duties. The more I learned about LDS Church and what it teaches, the more I realized they don't follow the same Christ. Basically, right? Yeah. Did you catch my question about the Netflix miniseries called Untamed? I did not, Space Cowboy. Let me see if I can find it. It's kind of lost in the shuffle now. Can you put it back in there? I'll look at it this time. I'll see it this time. Armenian Bishop is talking about Gregorian chant, not Gregorian chants, but polyphonic harmonic Renaissance singing. I don't know. I thought that was Gregorian chants, but I could be missing something. That's for sure. Good day from Perth, Western Australia at 11:33 a.m. Good day, man. Very hot today. That's right. You're in the bottom hemisphere, if you believe in the globe Earth. Glad to have you here, man. I don't think we've had somebody from Australia yet, though. So glad to have you. 11:33. Okay, I'll keep that in mind because I'm trying to I got a bunch of time zones in my head now. I still have the quad. Gregorian chants preceded what I listened to. Okay. Elite Super Grunt, I still have the quad. What's the quad? Space Cowboy says, it was just, has anyone watched it? Oh, okay. Has anyone watched Space Cowboy wants to know, has anyone watched, what was the name of it? No, I'm all over the place. Has anyone watched, has anyone watched the Netflix miniseries called Untamed? I have not, but Space Cowboy, tell you what, I want to run a poll for you, dog. Have you watched Untamed? Y'all let me know in the poll. Have you watched Untamed? I love polls, you guys. Nice way to consolidate our collective thoughts. One of my sisters-in-law is ex-Mormon, says Arizona boy, and says the same thing. I've talked with several Mormons, and they tell me some wild stuff. Okay, in my opinion, okay, if you go watch the South Park explanation of Mormonism, I think that's a great summary. It's 5 minutes long or something. I'm not going to repeat it here, but I think it's a actually very accurate and worthwhile summary. Let's see. Just scrolling through the chat real quick. Any missing 411, Blackfoot, or what else did I have? Treaty 7 questions. It's really good, says Space Cowboy. We can do a watch party. Armenian Bishop, a level 1 supporter. What's up, dog? Glad to have you on board, man. I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this too. I'll do a live stream, like a members only live stream at some point this week and get together with y'all and see like, well, what other benefits would you like for memberships? Like we can talk about merch and extra episodes. And I've got a book I'm getting ready to, got the book almost done. So that'll be coming out too. Maybe we can get you guys discounts or free chapters, stuff like that. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll all get together. So we'll do a stream sometime this week and talk about what you guys would like. Because I work for y'all. We just want to give the people what they want. The Book of Mormon, it's tough for me to say. The Book of Mormon is the name of the play. Yeah, that's the you probably said this earlier in the chat, but that is the Trey and Matt play, right? Merch would be great. Yeah, so I've got, this is a prototype, but we got more coming and we're kind of refined. This, it's not exactly what's coming out. We're refining that a little bit. Really cool t-shirts. Got 3 really cool designs for t-shirts that are designed to look like classic rock tour t-shirts. So I think that'll be cool. Got those on the way. What else? There's something else I thought of. I was just talking to him about t-shirts, the mug, and more stuff too. Hats. There was something else that I was designing earlier today, but I've done like a bunch of scripts and other research. So that's, let's see. Yeah, merch. The book. Oh, the book. What's the book going to be about? The book is going to be all the stories. Well, some of the stories. I'm wanting to make it a series, but several of the stories that I literally can't put on YouTube. So I'm wanting to do some of those maybe through a Patreon as well. But there's so many stories where like I can't even talk about it because it involves words that rhyme with grape, words that rhyme with herder, words that rhyme, just things where it's like it would be a nightmare to try and tell you these stories and we'd for sure get in trouble. So I'm going to put them in the book. So at least we can, I don't know if enjoy them is the right thing to say, but they'll be available to everyone because they're good stories. I think they're well written, if I do say so myself, but they're in classic HOKC style. It's like my hands are tied. I can't get this stuff out there. It's like I was saying about the movies. They can't put a lot of this stuff in movies because it's too intense. I got to go, says Ray Lance. Thanks for the show. Thank you, Ray. Stop on by anytime. The stream will be up in perpetuity. So thanks for coming by. Comanche. Mike Holt says more Comanche stories and more Comanche. Got a bunch of Comanche coming. You'll like what's coming, man. And you'll like the book. The Comanche obviously play a heavy role in the book. Lots of Comanche stories. Your voice is very comforting, says Ken. Well, it depends on who you ask. Let's see. The Book of Mormon. Okay, we got that. Scrolling to the chat here. Thanks, though. I appreciate that. I never even thought about my voice. Seems to annoy most of the people I know in person. Let's see here. Any more questions? Missing 411, Blackfoot. Armenian Bishop says, my first time with a YouTube membership. Well, thank you so much, man. I know it's for a lot of our audience, it's a new concept. I mean, it's relatively new on the YouTube landscape. But it's, I think, well worth it. We'll get a lot of extra stuff to you. And it's a way for us to really see who wants extra content and see what you guys want. Like I said, merch, books, extra episodes, all that stuff. So yeah, like I said, we'll come on by the live chat this week. I'll put up a special members only post that lets everybody know when that's going to happen. So stay tuned for that. And thank y'all thank you again. Really appreciate everybody tonight for coming out. Oh man, you know what? Elite Super Grunt, you're right. I'm in the middle of like 5 projects right now, like an episode, all this stuff coming out. But I have not worked on the locals yet, to be fully upfront with you. And I'm going to remind myself right now to do that tomorrow, because that's a must. There's no way to keep doing this and having fun without adding the locals to it. Because if you're not familiar with locals, a much more open platform, so we'll be able to do more watch party stuff. I think we can even play music, so it'll be more of an open vibe. YouTube can be, we love our YouTube overlords, but they can be a little restrictive sometimes. Julie Nelson, $5. You have a book for kids? I do not, actually. That's a great idea. Full disclosure, we're working on History at the OK Corral kids channel. So that should be coming hopefully January. I know a lot of people that have kids and grandkids, and they would like to expose them to history, but they don't have any good cartoons and shows to do that. So we're going to tell much more kid-friendly stories, but I think they'll be a lot of fun. They'll be animated with different realistic characters and everything. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. So we'll keep you guys posted on when that's coming, but it'll be HOKC Kids. I think it'll be cool. I'm excited about that. And then, yes, we should have a book for kids too, because it's just so important to get kids interested in history. We're so like, listen, math, science, it's important, right? But like, I don't know, everything I ever needed to know about math and science, I learned by the 5th grade, to be honest with you. Maybe the 6th grade. And then from there on out, it's like we're kind of vilifying the soft arts, I guess, like English, history, philosophy, etc. And we end up with a bunch of dum-dums because they don't know how to think. So it's like important to get kids interested in history so they can see these cycles, see people's mistakes, see people's victories and why they were mistakes and successes. It's history. History is just a case study for what's going to work in modernity. Space Cowboy, the level of self-censoring hoops you got to jump through on YouTube is ridiculous. It's satirical. Got to do stuff on Rumble. Yeah, I don't know what I can try to cross stream. I think I know other people that do that. So I just need the technology. I have to set up the software for cross streaming, but I'm working on getting Streamlabs and OBS going right now. So this should be a more viewer friendly experience as we go. It took me a little time just to figure out YouTube, but yes, it's very restrictive. I think it's interesting how it's shaped our modern language, because now we use terms like unalived and pew pew and corn, if you know that. So it's interesting how it's reflected in our modern culture. But yes, it's a little stifling. I'd say that it's a little stifling, Elite says, I don't know if Rumble allows watch parties. I don't know either. I'll have to go look. There's always a fair amount of minutia that goes into setting these things up. But great, those are all good ideas and they are necessary ideas. So that's all coming soon, because it's just standard for live streamers to be on several platforms. Okay. So that'll all be coming. Thank you guys. You hold my feet to the fire, and that's what I need, a good kick in the butt every now and again. To be honest with you, I seem to get more kicks in the butt than I would like, but maybe I need them. Let's see. More Comanche. We got a lot of Comanche coming. No worries. This channel will always have lots of Comanche coming. Let's see. Just making sure I didn't lose any chats here. Any more questions on any of this stuff? We'll leave it open for another 5 minutes or so. And like I said, if you haven't watched our Blackfoot episode from earlier today, go back and watch that. I think you'll really enjoy it. Lots of good stories on there. Our next one is going to be, I wrote it out last night. We'll surprise you with that one. We got more Comanches, more Rangers, more Mountain Men stuff coming, and some special episodes in a week or two for some extra content that I think everyone will like. All right, scanning through the chat here. Thank y'all so much for showing up. We're getting a bigger and bigger audience every time. So I really appreciate everybody coming out. Let's do a weekly Bible study. We could center on episodes, stream Old West, pastor, go over a sermon that they preach. I'll just ask my priest, but we could think about that. I'm Orthodox, so I got to get everything cleared from the higher ups, you know. Super chat says, I don't know what you mean by that. Elite Super Grunt says, super chat. I don't know what you mean by that, Elite, but I like it. Super chat. I like that. I like that. I kind of think that's a good band name, like a new wave band name, Super Chat. Coming out of Berlin, Super Chat. Oh, Arizona boy, I never heard back from you. Yeah. I mean, like, I just been swamped with a bunch of stuff, but we'll get it. We'll get the Colonial episode going. I'll email you back. Let's set up a date to do that live stream this week. Probably be an episode out, I believe, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So maybe Wednesday this week. Let's look at doing that. I might have an appointment. I don't know. Let's look at Tuesday, Thursday. Because yes, I've got all your stuff. I'm just like, December, if you guys don't know, December is the hammer down time of month for YouTubers. So if you're sending me something and I haven't gotten directly back to you, I will. Trust me, I will. I read all my emails. I get back to everybody. It's just been a crazy November, December is like when it's our hot season. Appreciate you, OKC. Got to hit the hay. Thank you, Marcus. Good to see you, man. Come on back tomorrow. Rumble does not allow watch parties as a guy channel known as Pastor. Oh, Rumble does. I'm sorry. Space Cowboy does allow watch parties. Huh. Okay. That might be more helpful. We just have a larger audience on YouTube. So it's easier to corral, for lack of a better term, corral everybody here. Space Cowboy, Orthodox, what? Antiochian. Let's see. Rumble does not allow. Okay, I got that one. And thank you again for the super chat, Julie Nelson. What do you guys think about a kids book? Kids channel. Have you watched Untamed? 94% of you have not watched Untamed, so I'm not alone there. Arizona boy, I hate to pester. No, man, not pestering me at all. I love talking to you guys. When you first start a channel, trust me, you just pray that someone's going to email you or watch at all. So I'm so grateful to interact with everybody. And a lot of you guys are super knowledgeable, like intimidatingly knowledgeable. So I love just talking history with you guys, and everybody shares their stories. And it's really fun to find somebody emails me their family history and we incorporate it into a show. I think that's great. Let's see. Are you talking Space Cowboy? You were talking about Pastor Shadele. He's always streaming something. Let's see. Terry R says HOKC Kids sounds fantastic. Yeah, I think so. I thought that would be. I'm trying to think of what would get me interested as a kid, and I think historic cartoons. I really like those like cartoons they'd show you of the pilgrims and stuff in school. So I thought that'd be interesting. Eric Bana and Sam O'Neill star in Untamed. Eric Bana's back, huh? That's cool, man. I think Troy is a super underrated movie. A little too much dude skin, you know what I mean? Like we can tighten the costumes up. We can make bigger costumes maybe. But good movie. I know Troy's not literally, it's more of a fable or whatever. Well, it is. I mean, yes, I think Helen of Troy was a real person. Let's see. But Troy is more of a myth, right? But a great movie. And he finally gets beat in the. I kind of don't like Eric Bana in the movie. I'm kind of just like, dude, this guy's a wuss. And Brad Pitt's character is gonna take him out. And then he finally does. So it's just like real life. I like that. Space Cowboy, Antiochian. Oh, it's like Antioch, Syria. Antioch, Antiochian. Arizona boy, 96. My dad used to play the movie Against a Crooked Sky for me all the time and got me interested in the Old West. Then all the John Wayne movies by my grandfather watched. Yeah, everybody Everybody in my family was watching Westerns. My grandpa was like a legit actual cowboy, like ran away from home, broke horses, like legit cowboy. And I did not like John Wayne because everyone always like compared him to John Wayne. And he was like, he's not a real cowboy. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I know he's not a real cowboy, right? But like, it's not an insult to be called John Wayne. He was like, he's a fake cowboy. It's like, I think he would readily admit that like, I'm an actor, you know? I was like, well, what do you want from him though? It'd be like me saying like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't like Rocky because he's not a real. I don't like Sylvester Stallone. He's not a real boxer. It's like, well, yeah, he's not a real boxer. Eric Bana does stand-up comedy. Bet you didn't know that. Did he really? I mean, I'm cool with Eric Bana, man. I would watch that. He does a great job. He plays Norman Hooten in Black Hawk Down. Guys, I think we should watch Black Hawk Down for a movie night. I got a lot of old Asperger's knowledge stored up in the noggin about Black Hawk Down. Eric Bana plays Norm Hooten. His nickname or his code name Hoot. He's kind of an amalgamation of characters, but he goes by the name Hooten in the movie. And he does a really good job, a little exaggerative job, but he does a great job in the movie of showing some solo missions, which there's some debate on whether the validity of that, but really depicting this kind of separate character. He says, this is my safety and all that stuff. But it does a great job of portraying that whole mission. And long story short, yeah. And he was a good Hulk too. He was a good Hulk. Space Cowboy, Antiochian. Yeah. Check it out, man. It's old school. My great grandma was a cowgirl. She broke horses. Yeah, there's a lot of cowgirls in history too. There's several that you'll hear old cowboys always give credit to one or two cowgirls that they knew who they'd say like, no, she's the real deal. Space Cowboy says, I love him in Black Hawk Down. He did a great job. He did a really good job. Everybody in Black Hawk Down did a good job. That was a good movie. I will make the argument that John Wayne was a cowboy because he owned a massive ranch here in Arizona, something to the effect of 30,000 acres, I think. I mean, like, all right, the term cowboy, at least in, I think, literal cowboy culture is maybe akin, to me, it was always akin to like samurai, right? Like a samurai is a person who's a very specific part of a society, within a society with a very specific set of skills. And without those skills, you're not a samurai, right? Like it means you're this type of person with these things that you can do. So I don't know, in my culture, it's like a cowboy is this. Like, and if you don't meet these boxes, then you're not a cowboy, you're something else, right? You're something in the peripheral. And like, so I would say, you know, John Wayne isn't a cowboy per se, but he's a massive part of cowboy culture. He still is a massive part of cowboy culture. And let's be honest, like the dude could handle a horse. The dude could ride. He spent more time on a horse than I have. All these movies that he shot. So I don't think he wouldn't be like a gunsoul, like they would say, or a dude, right? But like, he's not, compared to a working cowboy, like a cowboy on a ranch, a good cowboy can do anything. Like he can change a tire, he can fix a fence, he can medicate your cattle, he can birth a calf, he can, whatever. They're able to do everything, and that's what a good cowboy is. And that's not John Wayne per se. My grandfather was a horseman, not a cowboy. He always says that. Yeah, it's just a big difference. And I don't think one's better than the other. Like you've got amazing horsemen in dressage riding and in gymkhana. Well, I guess gymkhana, but yes, there's jockeys that are amazing horsemen. So it's not meant to be derogatory, or it's not even exclusive. It's just meant to be descriptive. Like a cowboy is a type of job. Let's see. Annie, Get Your Gun would be a fun movie night. Yeah, that's true. I haven't seen that. That's a famous movie. I would be surprised if that's not available on YouTube. So we'll put that on the list. Let's see. Eric Bana is awesome in Munich. Oh, I never have watched Munich. That looked like a good movie. Bana can do a lot of stuff, man. He's a pony with a lot of tricks. Let's see. Just scrolling back through the chat here. All right, we'll do another 5 minutes, and because I got to finish this other script for this one. Yes, the script for this one. Script for this upcoming episode. I want to do another on-site live stream because this next episode happens in Austin, and it happens, best I can discern, right off of South Lamar, which is like southwest downtown Austin. So I could go there and stream from where we think it would have happened. And it was a full pitched battle between Rangers and Comanche. There used to be a fort here named is Fort Colorado, pretty much on where MLK Avenue is today. And I'd like to go there and then go down. You basically got to go like down MLK to 35 and then right into the middle of downtown Austin. And then you go kind of like by where the Whole Foods is. And right around there, that's where the battle would have been. No Whole Foods at the time. Great content, great channel. Found out recently my ancestors are Métis, and my great grandpa took part in the Northwestern Rebellion in Canada and later settled in Montana. We need to do a Northwestern Rebellion episode too. Glad to have you here, Robert Skeel. Arizona Boy says, I have people tell me I'm not a cowboy and have to correct them because I don't cowboy anymore, but I'm definitely country for sure. Yeah. And I mean, you know what though? I'm not a cowboy myself, but I think Dale Brisby, if you watch him, has really changed the culture. Cause like, I still feel comfortable saying you ain't no cowboy. I'm cool with like telling somebody else that they're not, right? And it's a matter of perspective in a lot of instances. Like to somebody from New York City, their definition of a cowboy is much broader. But from someone who grew up in the culture, there's a lot of people more cowboy than me. A lot of people, right? But I always viewed being called a cowboy as something that was bestowed upon you, not something that you called yourself, because it came definitively with a certain amount of skill set and an adherence to American cowboy culture, and that can change. Like an adherence to Paniolo culture, an adherence to Gaucho culture, and these are all adherence to their local type of cowboy culture. Like a cowboy is a cowboy, though, anywhere you go, whether it's in Montana or Hawaii or Argentina, Colombia or Mexico. It's, I think, the same attitude, the same skill set, just a different name. Let's see. Okay, a couple chats poured in. Space Cowboy, highly recommend watching Munich. Okay, maybe we can do a movie night with that. It's as good as Gladiator, really? Okay, all right. Because that's the 72 Olympics, right? That movie's about. You would have been Hollywood from the arrows and bullets. I'm not sure what you mean, Blobboy. I have people telling me I'm not okay. I got that one. Great channel, great content. Got that one. Thanks again, Robert. You would have been Hollywood from the arrows and bullets. I'm not sure what that means. It has to be my mistake, Plowboy. I'm missing something there. All right. Anybody got a case of the Sunday scaries? I hate that term, man. But Sunday nights. Hopefully we're brightening that up here. I used to hate Sunday nights. Let's see. But that was before they had live streams. All right. I'm going to do one final scan of the chat, guys. If I'm missing anything, you want me to see it, get it in now. Or forever hold your peace, or at least hold your peace until our coffee stream tomorrow. Got to go to bed, says Julie Nelson. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for a great show, HOKC. Thank you, Julie Nelson. Thank you again for all of your support. Good to see you in the chat. Always good to see you in the chat. We've got so many returning people here, so it's so great to have everybody coming in and hanging out. We've built ourselves a good little community already. This is just such a pleasant surprise, really. I didn't even know what would happen when we started live streaming. So let's see. Arizona Boy says you're out. All right, man. Have a good night. Come on back tomorrow. We'll be here, I think, 11 a.m. Central Time. So whatever that is for you. Arizona would be, man, you guys don't change time. So I forget what time it is there for you. Great stream till next time. Yeah, all right. Sounds good, guys. Good to see everybody. Y'all have a good night. So make sure there's no more questions. I'm scanning through one more time. Awesome. Yeah, had a great night with y'all. Great discussing the Blackfoot. We'll get into missing people, missing 411 Old West style tomorrow. Until then, tune into our Blackfoot episode that just came out. And if you have any questions, other stuff, email me at history@theokcorral@gmail.com. And am I leaving anything out? No, just stay tuned. Big week ahead. Lots of stuff coming your way. Thank you again for all the support. Really means the world to me. Can't thank you enough. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow. God bless. See ya.